All right, guys. Mr. Cubic here. These are the notes for Wednesday, April 22nd. So it's been more than a month since I've seen any of you in person. We've missed out on DC week and spring break and lacrosse. So I'm very sad. We have been doing a lot of math. I hope you're doing it. I'm telling you, we're way ahead of where I normally am. So if you're doing the work and watching the videos, you're basically more advanced than any modern day student before you. So for that, you should be kind of psyched. I don't know. Something different. So this is the last section, and we're talking about solving radical equations. Okay. So we did pages 548 and 549, numbers 3 through 42, multiples of 3. Now I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't put the date. Suddenly realized that maybe I might want to use some of these next year again. So this lecture is originally aired on April 22nd, 2020, the year of the plague. All right, so I don't think this is hard. There are a couple hard ones at the end. Again, if I had stopped this at like 30, you could probably finish the homework in 5 minutes. I did give you probably 4 that maybe are a little too hard. But again, it's good to be stretched. All right, so the problem you have here is root y equals 14. And all you really have to know here is, okay, I am allowed, if I want, to square both sides. So when we derooted, right, we took the square root of both sides. Well, I can also, if I want, square both sides. No problem with this. So this, I don't have to worry about a math trick or the absolute value, because when I square it, that's going to make it positive. So I just get y equals 196. My life is so hard. That's the whole thing. I'm going to X me out. But that's all you needed to know. So all we're doing is we're squaring both sides. Now, let's go to this one, number 4, okay? And you're like, well, all right, I want to square both sides. I don't want to do this. All right, I don't want to do this. I mean, this is a nightmare, right? To do root z minus 2 times root z minus 2. Because then you're going to get like z minus 4 root z plus 4. And you're still going to have radicals and everything else. So before I square both sides, I want to get it so that just this square root term is by itself. Okay? That's all I need to do. Right? So I need to isolate the square root. Right? I isolate the radical. Right? Here I'm going to isolate the root. Okay? So how am I going to get that root z by itself? I am going to add 2 to both sides. These fellows cancel, and I get 9 equals root z. Right? Well, how can I solve that? Well, I just square both sides. I would not do this. I'm doing this so you can see what I did. It was a pain in the butt. I did this step right here on every problem on the homework. If I were you, I would just square it above. So I get 81 equals z. And that's my answer. I probably would put the z first. Z equals 81. Boom goes the dynamite. Isolate the root. I did 2 in red. I'm feeling very red. I'll go to blue. All right. I just don't know what's hard here. The only thing, again, just like these little things here, just little things that you should remember, right? Just, it'll make your life easier. Isolate the radical, isolate the root. Now, I put this one. There's 2 on here that are misleadingly maybe hard, right? So here, the thing that's hard is a fraction. Okay? So I have root y minus 1/2 equals 2. So again, I have to isolate this radical, right? Isolate the radical. I want to take that crazy free-forming radical y, and I want to get it all by its lonesome, right? Divide and conquer. So I'm going to add 1/2 to both sides. right? So root y equals 2.5, right? Quit now, it's hard. Don't quit. You can do it. I believe in you. So I probably would just say, I would use 5/2 here. And then I use root y. And then I would just square both sides. And again, when I'm doing this because I want you to look at it and see it, but it's kind of an extra step that you wouldn't need to do. And I get y equals 25/4, which is how I would put it. But you could also say 6 and 1/4, or if you are Chokahannes and love the decimal, you could put 6.25. Okay? Questions? Oh, you can't ask me questions. Mr. Cubic is so silly. Alright, so again, I've got a little bit more action going on inside the house. So this is often called the argument. I'm sure there's another name like erratic hand or something crazy like that. So if you want to, you can do this. I actually did a little bit of research on the interwebs, and this has a name. I can't remember this name, but the bar, right, the roof of the house, is known as the vinculum, right? Which in Latin is called, that'd be like a little tie. A little tie. That's my loose translation. So how am I going to do this? Well, again, I'm just going to square both sides. You're allowed to do that, right? I would not, if I were you guys, I would just do this right here, just square both sides, but I'm doing this just so you can see. So I have root m plus 5 squared equals 1 squared. So m plus 5 is equal to 1. Subtract 4 on both sides. And just so you know, PJ's doing that in 3rd grade. This 1 minus 4, he would tell you that's -3. I've been teaching him about the long-running war between holes and hills. So that's a 5. Sorry, I knew the answer and I skipped ahead. So m equals -4. Boom goes the dynamite. Alright, so the next one, you can see it a little bit underneath. I'm just going to scoot it up. Root x equals 3 root 7. I'm just doing this because I think this is a little bit misleadingly hard. Okay? And I just want you to understand. Alright, I'm just going to square both sides. And again, on your homework tonight, you probably would just do this. Right? So I won't do the extra step on this one. This is probably how I would do it on my homework, and I think you should feel free yourself. Okay? So the square root of x squared, well, that's just going to be x. My life is so hard. And I think this is easy. I just want you guys to be mindful. So this 3 root 7 squared, remember, that's just shorthand for 3 root 7 times 3 root 7, which is going to be 9 root 49, which is going to be 9 times 7, which is 63. So, again, this isn't hard. I just want you to know, right, if I want to square sort of a radical term like 3 root 7, how do I do it? Right, so you got to just square both of them. So my answer here is x equals 63. Ring it, because that's right, baby. Ring it up. Okay? So I will tell you all the problems that I ask you on the test would be like the ones on this. You'll see on the scrimmage I gave you 3 of these. Maybe that was unnecessary, but I think you can do it. Alright, so I have these last ones. These last ones are hard, and I just wanted to do them so you could see. And then the last one I think might be one of the harder problems in the book for you guys right now. So I get 4 equals root 7k minus 10 over 9. So the first thing is, I definitely have this radical isolated. So the first thing I would do is I would square both sides. So I get 16 equals 7 k minus 10 over 9. So this is number 29 in your book if you want to look it up in the back. So now we just kind of do PEMDAS in reverse, which is still not quite what I did. I guess it is what I did. It's just I couldn't get into that radical until I got in there. All right. So now I would multiply both sides by 9. Okay. And when I do that, I get 90 and 54, 144. These 9s cancel, is equal to 7k minus 10. Right? So this, right, I add 10 to both sides. And I get 154 is equal to 7k. Right? Divide both sides by 7. So 7 goes into 14 twice, and 7 goes into 14 twice. So my answer is k equals 22. Right? So again, that's just a nice problem, no crazy fractions and whatnot. So that's your example. So I'm going to go ahead and go to this, it might be like a brown, like a burgundy maybe. Okay, so this is number 35. This one is a little bit harder. 35 and 39 are. I said 30. The next one's harder. We'll see what happens. All right. So that's what I'm dealing with. 10 equals 2 root 3c squared minus 2. Okay. So the first thing I need to do is I need to isolate the radical. Right. Get that radical all by its lonesome. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And again, I can do whatever I want so long as I do the same thing to both sides. So these guys are going to cancel. And I get 5 equals root 3c squared minus 2. Okay? Alright, now from here, alright, I would square both sides. I'm actually going to do this extra step just so you don't get confused when you look at your notes. So 3c squared minus 2 squared. So I get 25 is equal to 3c squared minus 2. So now I add 2 to both sides, and I get 27 is equal to 3c squared, which means I need to divide both sides by 3, and I get c squared equals 9. You know how to solve that? Maybe d root. Hold on one second. So remember, this is the absolute value of c is equal to 3. So my answer here, and I don't need to do all that crazy stuff. C equals plus or minus 3. Boom, boom, boom. I mean, that's just not dynamite. That's thermonuclear weapon. Thermonuclear weapon. All right. Crazy problem. There I had to square and then unsquare, right? Lots of techniques going on there. Bifurcating. Oh my gosh. You guys have really learned quite a bit this year. All right. So there is one like that, maybe two on the homework that have a plus minus where you're going to have to square and then d-root, right? So the last one here, this one's really hard. There is one of these on your homework. I would never, ever, ever ask you one in Algebra 1, at least in high school, maybe in like an honors Algebra 1, and probably I would save it for Algebra 2. Okay? So this is number 40. You do have one like this, okay? I think it did multiples of 3, so it's either 39 or 42. All right. So you look at this like, well, I don't know what's so hard, Mr. Cubic. I'm just going to square both sides, right? And so you say this is equal to root x squared plus 9 quantity squared. So that's just x squared plus 9. I mean, that's not hard, right? And then you might say, oh, right, well, this is just 3 minus x quantity squared, which means that this is equal to 9 minus x squared, right? So you might be tempted to do that, but you would be wrong, because you can't distribute this, right? You have to do 3 minus x times 3 minus x, which gives you 9 minus 3x minus 3x plus x squared. So technically this next line is x squared plus 9 is equal to x squared minus 6x plus 9. Right? So that's why this problem is really hard, is you can't distribute that, right? So you see this and you're like, oh, I can do that. But no, you can't just do that easy stuff. You got to do a FOIL, right? So there's a little bit of action here. Now, this is where you can make this problem really, really hard by making you have to factor and do crazy things to solve, okay? Instead, I think what I would do is just subtract x squared from both sides, right? And so nice thing here is all the radicals disappear, or also all the squares disappear, and I get 9 equals negative 6 plus 9, and now 6x, and now I subtract 9 from both sides, and I get negative 6x equals 0. Divide both sides by negative 6, and I get x equals 0. That's the answer. X equals 0. I mean, that's not terribly hard at the end. Everything else before it is crazy. One last thing. I think you guys should be able to get them all. Number 42, there's an extra trick in there, so you might want to, after you're done, plug back in. But otherwise, I think you're good. Do your best on this tonight. Again, questions, Zoom meeting tomorrow. Email me, text me, call me, any of the above. I will be online tomorrow at 10 a.m. for 8A and 10:30 a.m. for 8B. Stay safe. Wash your hands, you filthy animals. Peace, love. Yeah.